Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today we're looking at Grumpig. I quite like Grumpig. Grumpig's kind of cool. More importantly, many people have been looking for a while for an answer to Buzzwole. Buzzwole's becoming a little bit of a problem. Buzzwole's becoming incredibly good, and as this format ends and the next format comes in to replace it, doesn't look like Buzzwole's really going anywhere. Grumpig is not just good against Buzzwole, but Grumpig may just be the answer that a lot of decks are looking for to this whole Buzzwole problem. So, starting off with the basics then, with the old Grumpig, it's got 120 HP, which, as we always say, means it's in range of stuff like Zoroark. It sucks, 130 is much better. Weakness to Psychic is a little bit of a pain, with Garbodor still being good and running around, not to mention the fact that Espeon is still pretty relevant. Boo, Hiss, etc. And then we've got a retreat cost of 2, which means it's out of range of Escape Board after rotation. You won't get free retreat with that. And the basics are starting to look a little bit rubbish. The good news is it's got one attack, and this attack is very much not rubbish. Now, I should mention our translation comes, as it almost always does at the moment, from the lovely David Hochmann, Mr. RappelmannTCG himself. And it is for 1 colourless energy, meaning this can be popped into any deck you like. 10 damage, not good. This attack does 70 more damage if your opponent has a Pokemon in play, which has the same name as one of your Pokemon in play. Now, remember the rule when it comes to names. Things like Buzzwole and Buzzwole GX have different names, so you wouldn't be able to go, oh, he's got a Buzzwole in play, I've got a Buzzwole GX, we're good to go. No, ladies and gentlemen. They need to have the actual same name. But if they've got the same name, you do 80 damage. That's 160 with weakness, so something like a Garbodor would be going down very easily. You whack a choice band on that bad boy, and all of a sudden, you're doing 110. Add in the weakness, you're now doing 220. And that sounds pretty good to me. Because now you're getting Buzzwole, and you're getting Espeon GX, and you're getting the Necrozma, which is the other big one that people are playing at the moment. They're playing it with Malamar, and although Ultra Necrozma really was initially set as, the partner du jour of Malamar, although it's not really happening in Europe, in the US, it really is Necrozma Malamar, which is rising to prominence rather than Ultra Necrozma Malamar. Little bit weird, but that is the format we are in. So 1 colourless energy and a choice band, and you're doing an awful lot of damage. Now, this really is an I'm hitting for weakness kind of attacks. If you're not hitting for weakness, you're talking 80 to a non-GX, and 110 to a GX, and that's just not enough damage, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, sure, you'll get evolving Pokemon, your basics like Grubbin, your stage 1s like Curlier, etc., but not really much more outside of that. And when it comes to GXs, I mean, the lowest one we've really got here is Marshadow, and even Marshadow comes in at 150, which is well outside your range. Although, fun fact, Marshadow is actually weak to Psychic, so you will get a one-hit KO even if you don't use a bit of the old choice band. So then we get, of course, to this issue of, alright, but there's got to be a Pokemon on the field with the same name as one of yours. And the obvious one we go for here is Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele at the moment is the turn 1 play. You grab a Tapu Lele, you use Wonder Tag. At the moment, we use it for Bridget. After rotation, it's probably for Steven's Decision. And then, of course, in the mid to late game, we often use it. If we've got nothing in hand, we can use an Ultra Ball. We search out a Tapu Lele, we grab ourselves a Cynthia or something along those lines, and we're off to go. It turns a hand which has nothing in into a hand that we can use to carry on the game. It's a really good Pokemon, and for that reason, it often ends up on the bench. So as soon as it's on the bench, you can hit with this. Here's the problem, though. First of all, you are relying on your opponent playing down a Tapu Lele. Now, in a lot of games, your opponent is going to play down a Tapu Lele. But the reality is, we rarely want to lay down a Tapu Lele. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got a pretty nice attack. for a double colourless energy, and people use it against Buzzwole, and people use it against Duskmane the Krozma, and anytime your opponent's using a bunch of energy, okay, we can use this. But other than that, no. It's not really an attack we want to use very much. So our opponent is going to be trying to not use this. Add in the fact, we don't really want to use our Tapu Lele. So our opponent uses their Tapu Lele, and then we have to use our Tapu Lele, which we might not really want to do. And then we end up in this whole hubbub of my opponent's used the Lele, so now I've got to use a Lele, or my opponent hasn't used the Lele, and if your opponent doesn't use a Lele, we're in trouble. There was a time where Tapu Koko, the promo one, pretty much found its way into almost every deck, and it was awesome. We're not there anymore. And if you look at all the best decks at the moment, okay, there's a little bit of overlap between Octillery, but some people are going Octillery, some people are going Oranguru, some people are going Zoroark. So actually that doesn't really narrow it down, and as soon as we get outside of Tapu Lele, we find ourselves in a little bit of an issue. The good news is, even after rotation, I don't see Tapu Lele going anywhere. I think we can assume that Tapu Lele is going to continue to see a rather large amount of play. And maybe after rotation it gets easier because with Octillery rotating, Oranguru does become the go-to in terms of draw power for an awful lot of decks. So maybe you can rely on those two. But it makes it just a little bit less reliable than I would like. The question is, what do we really have as an alternative? One of the ones that's being a little bit hyped over the past few weeks, since Buzzwole really started to annoy people, is Mesprit. Mesprit, for a double colourless energy, does 70 damage if there's a Uxie on your bench, at which point you add a choice band, you get a one-hit KO. And I've seen some rogue decks popping up with Mesprit, and I've seen people asking, hey, can I use Mesprit as an anti-Buzzwole tech in my deck? Well, I mean, yes, but it's for a double colourless energy, and it means that 2 of the spots on your 6 Pokemon field have got to be taken out, and it means you've got to have a choice band anyway. That is not a particularly easy thing to pull off. Whereas if we look at Grumpig, okay, it's a stage 1, and that is a bit of a problem, but it's 1 bench space. It's 1 colourless energy. It's actually so much easier than trying to get a double colourless energy on a Mesprit when you've got a Uxie on the bench, especially pre-rotation, when Parallel City could be an issue. Although, to be fair, Brooklet Hill is going to be played in Buzzwole decks. They're not going to play Parallel City. But Malamar and the Krozma decks, they may well end up playing Parallel City. And if you're trying to counter the Krozma with this, that could be a bit of an issue. And we've got other counters for Buzzwole, but something like Garboda takes Psychic Energy. I told you a few days ago that the promo Deoxys coming out in Japan soon was one I really liked and could be a really good Buzzwole counter. But it's for 2 Psychic Energy, 1 colourless. We've still got Mew from Fates Collide, but that's rotating out. We've still got Mewtwo from Evolutions. Now, to be fair, there is a Deoxys coming, which does have the same attack as it, but it's only good when Buzzwole's got free energy on, which they might not have. And even if they do, they might put free energy on, take a big KO, then you get the Buzzwole, but they've already taken the big KO that they wanted. We've got Mew EX, but firstly, it's 120 HP Pokemon that gives up 2 prizes, and secondly, it's rotating out. So we don't have amazing counters for Buzzwole at the moment, and a lot of the best ones we've got are going. Yeah, Mesprit can work, but really, does anybody out there think that Mesprit is this amazing, brilliant, be-all and end-all answer to the Buzzwole problem? I don't. Sorry about that. And in a world where we really want to counter the Buzzwole, I think there is a little bit of love here, or there should at least be a little bit of love for Grumpig. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Grumpig's the best card ever, but I am going to sit here and tell you that with a choice band, it's a good counter for Buzzwole. Little bit of a pain that it's a stage 1, but I can live with that because it's a really good counter for Buzzwole. So I'm going to be giving it 3 Wassies. It's a Pokemon to put in your deck. You might need it one time. You might want to take it into a deck. So we give it free Wassies. That's how free Wassies works. But I want to hear from you guys with this. Do you think this could be a good Buzzwole counter? Is there a better Buzzwole counter that you would rather play? Go nuts. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do so. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.